Action, 11 seed Danielle Collins and defending champ Marketa Vondrasova, while American Sophia Kenin takes on top seed Iga Swiatek. This is Rich Cantu, ABC Sports.
Bad Boy Mowers' legendary reputation for build strength, performance, and value is now available with Bad Boy tractors. From mid-size to subcompact models, powered by 22 to 35 horsepower water-cooled diesel engines, your tractor work just got real. Easy on the farm, the ranch, or even around the house. Bad Boy tractors deliver on power and durability all day, every day.
Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales is your Bad Boy tractor dealer in Sequim.
Bad Boy tractors, work with an attitude.
Picture this, the perfect summer barbecue. No stress, no responsibilities, just all your friends, burgers and hot dogs on the grill, and a delicious, refreshing Pepsi Zero Sugar in your hand. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Burgers sizzling, hot dogs cooking, Pepsi Zero Sugar fizzing, and a backyard of very, very happy people. Oh yeah, we could get used to this. Very, very used to this. Pepsi, the official beverage of Grills Night Out.
It is 12:20 now. Let's check Wall Street.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Tesla beating estimates by selling close to 444,000 cars in the second quarter. That total, though, was still down nearly 5% from just a year ago. Some Federal Reserve officials and economists are increasingly on alert that the labor market is losing steam, which could lead to pain for American workers. Data shows that companies are posting fewer job openings so far this year, while less employees are quitting as unemployment levels have begun to slowly rise. In an op-ed piece in USA Today, President Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders have called for drug maker Novo Nordisk to substantially reduce the price of Ozempic and Wegovy. The drugs are used to treat obesity and type 2 diabetes. Biden and Sanders say that if companies refuse to lower prescription drug prices, they will work to do it for them. The Hollywood production company, led by Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, is reportedly up for sale. The Wall Street Journal says Imagine Entertainment is working with an investment bank as it looks for a buyer. I'm Dan Schwartzman, Bloomberg Radio.
Check on the roads next, brought to you by Angela's Furniture and The Blind Store by McCrory.
Experience on-the-spot summer savings right now at Angela's Furniture. Now through August 5th, take advantage of huge stressless discounts. Save $100 on any $1,000 purchase, $200 on $2,000, $300 on $3,000, and it just keeps on going. A $100 rebate on every $1,000 spent. Stressless by Equinus is the most innovative furniture of our time. There is no comfort like the comfort of a stressless piece in your home. Angela's Furniture, 1114 East 1st Street.
Ever looked at your window coverings and thought, ugh, might I suggest new window treatments from the Blind Store in Sequim? I know. It doesn't sound like it would make that much of a difference, but do me a favor. Take a good look at what you have now. See the dust, the age, that one janky cord that doesn't actually open or close anymore? Well, McCrory's Blind Store in Sequim can make that better. With more options than you knew existed, the Blind Store will pair you with the perfect window coverings, all at 20% off. The Blind Store by McCrory, next to the licensing depot in Sequim.
Newsradio KONP, traffic and roads.
Yeah, well, it is very traffic heavy in Port Angeles downtown. It's very traffic, some other things that are playing into it, and also the paving project on Marine Drive. And we're seeing a lot of red on our map now as we look through Port Angeles. Also just your normal slowdown on Lincoln Street, too. And also Ray Street showing a little bit of slowdown, too. So all of that is in the greater Port Angeles area. As you get out of town, you're going to slow down coming into Port Angeles westbound right at McDonald's there. But that's the only thing on the outside of town. And then all the way to Sequim, it's green arrows. Sequim itself, no problems right now to report. As we look farther along at the Hood Canal Bridge, it is open for traffic right now, so no problems there. The ferries are actually running on time right now, and heading out west, your big issue is going to be on 101. They're getting that construction all up and running and putting in some extra precautions, and that alternating one-way at the new Elwha Bridge site there on 101. That's going to slow you down maybe up to 10 to 15 minutes on the wait there, so add that in if you're heading out to Forks. 112, no problem out to Nia Bay and Clown Bay. Right now it is sunny and 59 in Port Townsend. We've got partly cloudy skies in Forks. We're at 61. Sequim's got some partly cloudy skies, 63. Same thing in Port Angeles where it's 57. And out at the airport at Fairchild, it's 61 degrees.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
If you're like me and tend to get a little lost in the grocery store, this trick might be for you. I read about it the other day, but apparently it went viral a couple years ago thanks to New York City-based chef, TV personality, social media content creator, Will Coleman. It's called the 6-to-1 method, and Will swears it's going to help you spend less time in the grocery store and probably spend less money as well. You're also going to reduce your food waste because you're probably not buying random ingredients you don't really need. On your weekly supermarket run, you want 6 fresh, frozen, or canned vegetables, 5 fresh, frozen, or canned fruits, 4 proteins, 3 starches, 2 sauces, and 1 luxury item. Now you can scale up, scale down, mix and match, and this should be the right amount for the week. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Attention! Are you or a loved one suffering complications after taking Ozempic or Wegovy? These medications may be linked to serious gastrointestinal illnesses. If you've been hospitalized and diagnosed with gastroparesis, chronic vomiting, deep vein thrombosis, or experienced intestinal blockage requiring surgery, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call 888-900-LAW-1 today for a free consultation. That's 888-900-LAW1. Paid for by Tort Defenders. Tort Defenders is not a law firm and does not provide legal services.
When you've got real work to do, Metal Supermarkets will help you get it done fast. We've got a huge variety of metals in stock, and we cut to size fast. Bottom line, we get it done fast, so you get it done fast. Doesn't get easier than that. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Find a store or buy online at metalsupermarkets.com.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. Some things are so taken for granted we never even ask why. Like, why are barns painted red? I'll give you that answer after this important message.
If you've been hearing my radio programs now for the last 20 years, you know that I've been telling the true stories of those who have followed God's ways to make America the greatest nation in the world. So what's the latest? Well, we're now doing this nation-saving work full-time, and we need your help by becoming one of our ambassadors, subscribing to All We Have for just $5.95 per month. To get what? Number one, full access to our amazing website that is full of over 100 true stories to teach us with these stories how America is to act and operate. We also have lessons for all ages to teach us what we must do now, and our children, they will be our nation's leaders very soon. I will have live presentations online for you to hear, maybe even to participate. And when must this all get started? Now. Call our offices today at 817-995-6965 or go to our website at www.jerrystewartusa.com and email our office. God bless you.
Here's one for you. Why are barns painted red? Yeah. Why are barns painted red? Well, according to my research, in the early 1800s, farmers discovered that the color red absorbed sunlight better than any other color, which helped to keep their barns warmer during the winter. And since there was no form of heat to keep the barns warm other than fire, all barns were painted red to help solve that problem. And where did they get the red paint? The farmers made it by mixing skim milk with rust shavings from metal fences. And now you know. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. In spite of the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling regarding cities' ability to ban homeless camping, the King County Sheriff's Office said its deputies will not enforce Burien's camping ban. The city previously sued the Sheriff's Office over lack of enforcement, and then the Sheriff's Office countersued. King County Executive Dow Constantine said Burien's camping ban remains unconstitutional the way it's written. The High Court requires fair notice of the laws. Constantine claims Burien's anti-camping ordinance does not do that. A 53-year-old former King County middle school teacher is cleared of wrongdoing in Chelan County after prosecutors dropped charges against him in a rape and assault case. Here's Jason Taylor with more.
Darren Hunter was accused of sexually assaulting a woman at his home in Chelan during a drug deal in July of last year. Prosecutors now say they don't have sufficient evidence to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Hunter was a middle school teacher in Seattle until he was fired after pleading guilty to charges of assault with sexual motivation. He subsequently moved to Chelan.
In two Tri-Cities, a man appeared in court after allegedly attacking two teenage girls in a Richland apartment following an episode involving alcohol. Both have been in Benton County Jail on suspicion of rape and providing alcohol to minors. Both have a history of prior offenses, with one man a conviction for unlawful imprisonment. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app. You can also visit our website, WashingtonStateNews.net.
If you're breaking news this hour from townhall.com, I'm John Scott. Hurricane Beryl is roaring through open waters as a monstrous Category 5 storm.
Hurricane Beryl is headed toward Jamaica and the Cayman Islands with life-threatening winds and storm surge.
Maximum winds are up to 165 miles per hour. It's a Category 5 hurricane.
Eric Blake is a senior specialist with the National Hurricane Center. The storm made a direct hit on Carriacou, ripping off rooftops and leaving streets covered with debris. It also left damage in Grenada and St. Vincent. Beryl is the earliest Category 5 storm ever to form in the Atlantic.
There's never been a Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic during June.
Brian McNulty at the University of Miami is a tropical weather researcher.
The water there is hotter than it would normally be at the peak of the season.
I'm Jennifer King.
Also at townhall.com, U.S. job openings rose slightly in May despite the impact of higher interest rates.
The good news, the job market is still strong. There's a job for every unemployed American, but not as many jobs as there were in January of last year. Still, job openings rose slightly from April to May to just over 8 million. But layoffs have been rising a little. The number of Americans quitting their jobs is basically unchanged. And although there are 1.2 jobs for every unemployed American, that's down from a 2-to-1 ratio in January of 2023. Still, economist Robert Frick at the Navy Federal Credit Union says the Labor Department report is another sign that the labor market is holding firm. I'm Rita Foley.
The Democratic Biden administration telling emergency room doctors they must perform emergency abortions when necessary to save a pregnant woman's health. That's following last week's 6-3 Supreme Court ruling that failed to settle a legal dispute over whether state abortion bans override the federal law that requires hospitals to stabilize patients. Stocks are higher, the Dow up 90 points. More at townhall.com.
Government debt is now exploding by an unprecedented $1 trillion every 90 days. Think of that. It's a clear sign that our nation's finances are spinning out of control, and it's putting the savings of every one of you at risk. Hello, I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst and best-selling author and an evangelical leader. I'm deeply concerned about the impact this runaway debt is going to have on Christians like you who have worked hard to build your own nest egg for your family. To protect your financial future in these uncertain times, you need to diversify with something tangible and proven, like physical gold. That's why I recommend a gold IRA. To learn more, text FAITH to the number 989898, and my friends at Birch Gold Group will rush you a free info kit on how to move your IRA or 401k to physical precious metals, tax and penalty free. So don't wait. Just text the word FAITH to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold Group is the only company I trust. There's no obligation. So text FAITH to 989898, and I pray this information helps you achieve prosperity and peace of mind.
Dueling crime measures in California.
Top California Democrats have announced their backing for a ballot measure targeting retail theft. The plan's an effort to compete with a tougher on crime initiative backed by law enforcement and retailers. State Democrats say their plan would increase penalties for shoplifting while avoiding putting more people behind bars. The retailers' proposal would make stealing and some drug charges a felony for repeat offenders. State Senate Leader Mike McGuire said the coalition refused to work with lawmakers. Lawmakers will vote on the plan before a deadline next week. A state Republican lawmaker says the measure's a sham that will confuse voters at the ballot box in November. Keith Peters reporting.
A Texas man, 69-year-old Scott Sims of Austin, has died while hiking in Grand Canyon National Park. Temperatures can reach over 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade. Breaking news at townhall.com. The Biden administration proposing a rule aimed at addressing excessive heat in the workplace.
The proposal comes as tens of millions of people in the U.S. are under heat advisories due to blistering temperatures. If finalized, the measure would protect an estimated 36 million U.S. workers from injuries related to heat exposure on the job. Those affected by excessive heat in the workplace include farm workers, delivery and construction workers, landscapers, gardeners, as well as workers in warehouses, factories, and kitchens.
That is Jeremy House. New Orleans officials say they will designate a police station in the city's historic French Quarter as a vocational technical school, while officers there will receive training. That designation means handguns will be forbidden within a 1,000-foot radius of the station. It's an area that includes much of the Barline Bourbon Street area. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Orth live from the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Tuesday, July 2nd. Starting later this week, Clallam County will start using a new farm use ordinance. Supporters say the county's first ever agricultural accessory use ordinance aims to support the farming community and preserve rural character and will actually simplify and reduce costs. It supports activities like on-site retail stands, greenhouses, farmers markets, U-Picks, farm tours, and work stays for farms of 1 acre or more. Now, previously, many accessory uses required a conditional use permit. Now, farmers can engage in those activities outright or get a $150 certificate of compliance. Temporary retail stands no longer will need permits, while on-site stores and greenhouses will need a certificate and can operate from sunrise to 10 p.m. between May and October. Farmers markets are allowed on farms of 5 or more acres with a certificate. Smaller farms will need a CUP. U-Picks and farm tours will need a certificate for smaller farms. Work stays will be allowed on larger farms with a certificate, but they're prohibited on farms that are under 5 acres. Farm activities like corn mazes are limited to 21 days a year, with smaller farms needing a CUP for that. At about 2 Saturday morning, a Port Angeles police officer spotted a speeding vehicle westbound on Front Street near Penn. The officer tried to stop the vehicle. That resulted in a vehicle pursuit westbound along Front. The fleeing vehicle failed to negotiate a left turn from Front onto Albert and then collided with a parked car, came to a stop. The driver, 27-year-old Jordan Turner, was arrested for attempting to elude police and also booked for DUI and knowingly possessing cocaine. A semi-automatic 9mm pistol was recovered from the suspect vehicle as well. Now, police are calling the case an example of an arrest that could not have been made before June 6th, when the latest version of Washington State's pursuit law went into effect. Boaters cruising the Salish Sea off our northern Olympic Peninsula this summer will benefit from the opening of Towboat US Port Angeles. It's a 24/7 on-water towing and assistance company that provides professional towing, soft ungrounding, battery jumps, and fuel drop-off services. The new port is owned by Captain Roger Slade, who's been assisting boaters since 2001 and is the longtime owner of Towboat US locations in Port Ludlow, Port Townsend, and Hood Canal. Now, much like an auto club for recreational boat owners, Boat Owners Association of the United States, Boat US offers annual on-water unlimited towing memberships for saltwater boaters and anglers at $175 a year. The fastest way to request on-water assistance would be to download the free Boat US app, which connects boaters to the closest local tow captain. You can get more information at boatus.com or go to 800-888-4869 on your phone. A first-of-its-kind fundraiser coming to the Port Angeles waterfront this week. The Red, White, and Brews Beer Run will benefit local veterans. It's essentially a chance to drink a couple of beers and go for a run or walk for a mile. Chris Pinnell is organizing the event.
Yes, this is Port Angeles' first beer run event. Bar Hop Brewing Port Angeles has been so gracious to donate their patio as well as the beer for this event. But essentially, you drink one large beer, and then you run a mile, and then come back and drink one more large beer. Then it's complete. If you want to walk that mile, you can. If you want to jog it or run it, that's fine. Also, it's just really more about the cause and the charity than the competition. But it's just a fun and semi-healthy way to get everyone involved.
The event happens at 5:30 this Wednesday at the Bar Hop. cost $40 per person. That gets you the 2 drinks and admission to the festivities that will include a raffle after the run at the patio at the Bar Hop Brewing on Railroad Avenue. Bonnell says all the money raised stays right here in Clallam County to help veterans who are in need.
100% of the proceeds are going to the local Veterans Association. I've teamed up with my friend Holly Rowan, who's the president of the Clallam County Veterans Association. And it's going also to the Green Alliance for Veteran Education. Everything from housing to clothes to education for schooling and everything above, food, anything we can think of.
If you'd like to sign up, email your interest to thebevychevy@gmail.com. That's thebevychevy, BEVYCHEVY @gmail.com. City of Port Angeles Parks and Rec announcing this week that the Edis Hook boat launch will be available at no cost this summer. The decision follows damage sustained to a majority of the floats during severe winter storms. Efforts have been made to reinstall and reconfigure those undamaged floats that are left, creating a single usable string of 10 floating docks for now. In other news, Washington state auditors have uncovered a major internal fraud case. A management analyst at the Office of Administrative Hearings allegedly paid himself over $878,000 using agency funds between June of 2019 and May of 2023. He reportedly used the agency's credit card to pay businesses he owns. This is the largest alleged internal theft of state agency funds on record. According to the state auditor's office, the audit found no legitimate business activity for the charges, which included gift cards and cell phone bills. Olympia police are now investigating. The employee took leave when auditors contacted the agency and then quit in June of 2023. The Office of Administrative Hearings handles citizen complaints against state agencies. Washington State Ferries warns of longer boarding wait times this 4th of July due to fewer available ferries and increased summer demand. The summer months see twice as many customers as winter on the ferries, with about 400 daily sailings. WSF expects an average of 100,000 passengers daily between June 28th and July 7th. Spokesman Ian Sterling emphasized that peak travel times will be busy, and that's going to lead to some longer waits, especially with the long weekend coming up. As the holiday rush began, the Suquamish ferry tangled with a crab pot line, but engineers fixed it over the weekend. Sterling reminding travelers, though, to expect delays as we head into the busy travel week this week. Investigators suspect a migrant who died after falling from a freight train in Whatcom County was being smuggled into the country illegally. Homeland Security investigations reported that on June 20th, a migrant walked into Ferndale with serious injuries and said a companion had died. HSI Special Agent in Charge Robert Hammer says they believe they either jumped from the train or were thrown off. Hammer noted an alarming rise in human smuggling attempts from Canada into Washington state in recent months. A Seattle area plastic surgery provider must pay $5 million after being accused of manipulating online reviews and threatening patients, that according to a federal consent decree filed yesterday. The decree resolves a lawsuit filed by State Attorney General Bob Ferguson against Allure Aesthetic and its owner, Dr. Javad Sajan. They were accused of violating consumer protection laws by posting fake reviews and forcing patients to sign non-disclosure agreements. Filed in U.S. District Court of the Western District of Washington, the resolution requires Allure to pay about $1.5 million in restitution to 21,000 Washingtonians, each receiving a check of $50 or $120. The remaining funds will cover attorney's fees, litigation costs, and future monitoring of the company. And the state of Washington has officially surpassed 8 million people for its population. According to the State Office of Financial Management, over 84,000 people moved to Washington over the past year, pushing the state to the 8 million mark in total population. In comparison, Washington had a population of 5.3 million in 1993. Washington is still expanding as a state, but not as quickly as it was in the previous decade. Migration was responsible for slightly more than 80% of the population jump, while natural change, that's local births minus local deaths, accounted for just under 20% of population growth. In total, Washington is the 13th most populous state now, slotting between Arizona and Virginia. That's according to 2023 census data. This is News Radio KONP.
Losing a loved one is overwhelming. Your mind and your heart shut down. That's where Drennan and Ford Funeral Home and Crematory comes in. They took the burden off my family's shoulders and guided us through everything we needed to do. No pushy sales tactics or unanswered questions. They just held our hands and took care of everything we asked. That's why I will always recommend Drennan and Ford for end-of-life decisions. They handle the hurt like no one else can. Call 360-457-1210.
The FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, has finally been updated. If you have been waiting to fill out a financial aid application for college or career training, now is the time. United Way of Clallam County offers free support with FAFSA, WASFA, or any pesky paperwork that is needed to help pay for college. You can book a one-on-one session with our student financial aid liaison by emailing collegeaccess@unitedwayclallam.org.
Right, on to the weather forecast, and if you like warm, sunny weather, later in the week is going to be your kind of week. Mostly sunny the rest of the day today, mid to upper 60s for your highs. Going to see variable winds picking up to about 15 miles per hour this afternoon. Mostly clear tonight. Lows will be about 50 with a west wind to 20 miles per hour this evening. Sunny for Wednesday. We get into the low 70s on Wednesday with just light winds, and then clear again Wednesday night with lows in the low to mid-50s. Independence Day on Thursday is looking sunny, mid-70s. It's going to be just right with light winds, and going to see those fireworks just fine on Thursday night with mostly clear conditions. Lows will be in the mid to upper 50s. Friday's when the real warm-up begins, though. We get sunshine in about 80 to 85 on Friday. Friday night clear and only gets down to about 60 overnight. Sunny and 85 for Saturday. Clear Saturday night, lows again 62. And then Sunday, more sunshine and again 80 to 85 for your highs on Sunday. Sunday night, clear skies, lows in the upper 50s. Mostly sunny again Monday. A little bit cooler, mid to upper 70s as we head back to work on Monday. Currently, we have some partly cloudy skies across the region right now and a few sun breaks here and there, too. In the east end of the peninsula, Port Townsend now checking in at 62 degrees. Forks has 62 as well at 64 in Sequim, 57 in downtown Port Angeles, and out at Fairchild Airport in PA, it's 64 degrees.
Hello, this is Amanda Huff with Swim Valley and Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapels. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a new, exciting, and environmentally friendly development in the funeral industry. It's called natural organic reduction, or simply terramation. Perhaps you've heard of it. Terramation is a process in which the body, after death, is returned to the earth in a carbon-neutral, eco-friendly manner. The process takes place in a controlled environment, and all that remains is a natural, odorless, compost-like material. If you'd like more information about terramation and advanced planning, call us today at Harper Ridgeview in Port Angeles or Sequim Valley Chapel in Sequim, and one of our knowledgeable and caring funeral professionals will assist you in answering your questions. Harper Ridgeview and Sequim Valley Funeral Chapels, because your loved ones deserve the best.
This message is brought to you by the law firm of McMiniman and McMiniman, Port Angeles and Sequim.
Hi, I'm Clallam County Sheriff Brian King. The 4th of July means more traffic as people head to family gatherings, fireworks displays, and out of town. Extra law enforcement will be on duty to ensure smooth travels. Please obey the speed limits, buckle up, and eliminate distractions. Never drive after drinking or consuming cannabis. Together, let's make the roads safe for everyone.
The law firm of McMiniman and McMiniman, protecting you and your family since 1985.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me grow from 1 Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
With the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. You know, I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. You know, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
When you buy a new house, you might say,
"Shut the front door."
"Winning."
No, seriously, shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
"Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there."
That's right. The local State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need.
Welcome to my crib. No one says that anymore, but I don't care.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Tranco in Port Angeles. You know them as a transmission specialist. Does that include automatic and manual transmissions?
Yep, that's transmissions, but also differentials and transfer cases. Basically the entire drivetrain of your vehicle.
That's Mitch from Tranco Transmissions here in Port Angeles.
So if you're seeing leaks, feeling vibrations, or there's burning smell, let us troubleshoot to get to the root of the issue.
Stay ahead of transmission and drivetrain issues with Tranco Transmissions Port Angeles.
10 minutes in front of 1 o'clock and 10 minutes before the close on Wall Street. Let's get a last check of business news before that happens today.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Just minutes ago, ahead of Wall Street's closing bell, and stocks are on track to end the day higher after there were more open advertised jobs than forecast in May, and after the head of the Federal Reserve said inflation is heading lower again, putting interest rate cuts back on the table for later this year. Right now, the Dow is 0.33% higher, the S&P 0.5% higher, the Nasdaq up 0.2%. The big gainer shares of Tesla up 9% after reporting better than expected sales in the second quarter, even though they did decline again. Paramount Global in talks to sell Black Entertainment TV to a group of buyers led by a private equity group, could go for as much as $1.7 billion. And banks must be happy. New data from ICE research shows that as of May, about a quarter of all U.S. homeowners with a mortgage were paying a rate of at least 5%. Just 2 years ago, only 1/10 of mortgage holders were paying that much every month. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Hey, Check the Roads next, brought to you by Olympic Medical Center and Leeds Farm Supply.
When every second counts, trust the trauma experts at Olympic Medical Center. Accidents happen anytime, day or night. That's why Olympic Medical Center provides 24/7 trauma care every day of the year. Our dedicated trauma team is here around the clock to handle your emergencies with expertise and compassion. Olympic Medical Center, your hometown partner in trauma care. Learn more at olympicmedical.org/trauma care.
Bad Boy tractors are born from the legendary Bad Boy mowers. From 20 to 35 horsepower, subcompact to midsize, Bad Boy combines power, performance, comfort, and as always, build strength to deliver the workhorse dependability you need to get the job done and done right. Homeowner, landscaper, or rancher, there's a Bad Boy tractor for you to work with an attitude.
Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales is your Bad Boy tractor dealer in Sequim. Call 360-452-1400 to learn more.
Newsradio KONP, traffic and roads.
At Clallam Transit Dispatch Center we go. That's where Steve's standing by with a last look at our noontime road conditions for us out there on this Tuesday. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, overall, we're doing pretty good out there if you are out and about. It is busy, but not too busy that you can't make your way around town. A little slowdowns at the lights, a few of the areas in town, but overall should be good travels for you. Marine Drive still under construction, so be careful if you're headed in that direction. You're going to find single-lane traffic along that way if you're going that way. If you're headed out on the highway between the two cities, no real problems. Traffic is busy, but at the speed limit. Beyond that, Hood Canal Bridge still good to go with nothing scheduled for marine openings. State ferries are running on time, although they're starting to kind of fall behind a little bit. So just plan ahead if you're going to be heading over across the water there. If you're headed out to the west end right now, 101, not too bad. I think total delay between the two construction sites, maybe about 15 minutes of your time. Be careful. Watch your speeds through those areas and let them get their work done, set up, and pretty soon we'll have at least one nice new bridge across the Ottawa River. So everybody take care. Be safe out there. This is Steve reporting live from Clown Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. Traveling, well, gas prices moving back up just in time for the 4th of July. ABC's Alex Stone with some details.
You can blame rising crude oil prices and more demand as Americans hit the road, but the price of regular unleaded has inched up a bit after weeks of declining prices, according to new data from the Energy Department. In the past week, the price of regular unleaded went up 4 cents to $3.48 a gallon, still 5 cents below a year ago at this time, and gas prices are still declining in places like California. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Well, a new Billboard chart record for the year. Here's ABC's Jason Nathanson.
The longest-running number one song of 2024. A sixth week atop the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart for Post Malone and Morgan Wallen's song, I Had Some Help, which is now the most weeks on top for any single this year. The track had dropped out of the top spot for the last couple of weeks after spending its first 5 weeks at number one.
They not like us.
Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar's Drake diss song, Not Like Us, returns to number one on Billboard's streaming songs chart. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
All right, it takes about 10 weeks to become a bad driver. After passing their driving test, it takes someone 10 weeks to go bad. A study of 2,000 car owners found the average new road user lets bad habits creep in less than 3 months after getting their driver's license. The two things we do wrong almost immediately: not holding the steering wheel correctly and failing to check mirrors every time you make a lane change. Only 40% of women and 32% of men, though, believe they are bad drivers.
Today, another episode of Scam Week. Real scams hurting real people who have lost real money. Everything you hear is real, and it could happen to you. I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. This is from a Kim Commando Show listener. Our small company was scammed with a phony invoice. We didn't know it at the time, but our company's email addresses were hacked and used by online thieves. The scammers sent us an email that appeared to be from a vendor we do business with. We didn't notice that the sender's email address was altered by just one character, making it the scammer's email. They asked us to wire the money owed to a specific bank account, the scammer's account. We did. The money's gone. What now? The phony invoice scam happens every day. Contact the FBI and be sure to closely inspect every bill sent by email. You want to be sure account numbers match up and always call to verify. Join 500,000 folks who get my free newsletter at getkim.com. Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, Scam Shield Premium is included, which means fewer scam calls and more tools to help you optimize and organize your mobile life. Experience all this and more with T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Don't miss out. Get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for $30 a month per line at T-Mobile. Visit T-Mobile.com or your local store to make the switch and save.
With autopay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees. 25% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details. Capable device required for Scam Shield. Turning on Scam Block. My block calls you want. Disable anytime.
A blow to the head is no joke and deserves some serious recovery time. We'll talk more after this.
Cue the fireworks and celebrate Independence Day with the Omaha Steaks 4th of July sale. Save 50% off site-wide and fire up the perfect backyard cookout with tender steaks, juicy burgers, deli-style franks, and more family favorites. Shop today at omahasteaks.com and score an extra $30 off when you use promo code QUALITY at checkout. Plus, every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code QUALITY at checkout.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
We often see athletes, especially football players, taking a hard hit to the head, suffering a concussion, and then coming back onto the field just a week or two later. But research is showing that some people continue to experience concussion symptoms up to a half a year after their injury. These symptoms can include things like headaches, light sensitivity, as well as sleep and mood disturbance. While it's understandable that the pressure to compete and the love of a sport can push athletes to minimize, ignore, or deny symptoms, it is both dangerous and foolish to do so. You risk prolonging injury time and long-term damage. And there's a saying in sports medicine, when in doubt, sit out. With Your Body, I'm ABC's Dr. Jennifer Ashton.
I am a radio commercial. You can't see me, but that doesn't mean we can't have a one-on-one conversation. I can be intimate. I can be bold. I can be used to tell you about a one-day-only sale! Or about why my family trusts a particular person or product. You and I can chat daily or sometimes just on the weekend, but we never stop communicating. I may make you laugh. I can make you ponder. And sometimes I can bring just a hint of a tear to your eye. You'll find me lots of places, your car, your home, inside a store, on the beach. Where you won't find me is in a landfill, wrapped around fish, or at the bottom of a birdcage. I'm a radio commercial, and I could be yours.
To open a dialogue between you and your customers, call us today, 360-457-1450. Local radio, local listeners, professional marketing. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles, Sequim.
We're the talk of the peninsula. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles, Sequim, FM 101.7 and 101.3, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. With each day after President Biden's disappointing debate performance, more Democrats are stepping forward with concerns about his chances at re-election. It includes Texas Representative Lloyd Doggett, the first Democratic lawmaker to call for the president to withdraw from the race. Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, key ally and chair of the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign, says he wants to see Biden and Harris on the ticket, but also would support Vice President Kamala Harris taking over the top spot if Biden were to step aside. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, asked about the fitness of the president to campaign and serve another term, says they're not trying to hide anything about his health.
We are acknowledging what people are seeing, but we do believe this was in this instance, it was a bad night.
President Biden today making no mention of his health, visiting an emergency operations center in Washington, D.C., and getting briefed on extreme weather, including Hurricane Beryl, now a Category 4, churning in the Caribbean. ABC News announcing an exclusive interview with President Biden taking place this week.
President Biden will speak with ABC's George Stephanopoulos for his first television interview since Thursday's debate. The Biden campaign has faced calls for the president to do more interviews in recent days following that disappointing debate performance. Stephanopoulos will speak exclusively with Biden on the campaign trail Friday. Molly Nagel, ABC News, the White House.
Attorneys for Donald Trump calling for the jury's verdict in the hush money criminal trial be set aside. It follows the Supreme Court's ruling that presidents have immunity when it comes to official acts. Trump was convicted of falsifying business records. His original sentencing date of July 11th, now postponed until September 18th. United Nations human rights experts, the latest to call for the release of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gerskovich from a Russian prison, saying there is a striking lack of any factual or legal evidence to support charges of spying. You're listening to ABC News.
Cue the fireworks and celebrate Independence Day with the Omaha Steaks 4th of July sale. Save 50% off site-wide and fire up the perfect backyard cookout with tender steaks, juicy burgers, deli-style franks, and more family favorites. Shop today at omahasteaks.com and score an extra $30 off when you use promo code QUALITY at checkout. Plus, every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code QUALITY at checkout.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
With summer travel season in full swing, drivers in one state are being alerted about a new scam. Here's ABC's Mike Tobuski.
The Lee County, Florida Sheriff's Office is warning drivers about fraudulent text messages that could trick drivers into paying tolls that they don't owe. The office says the text claims the recipient used the Florida Turnpike and didn't pay the toll, then directs them to pay up as soon as possible.
The text includes a link to a website where people could be tricked into handing over money. New hope for those who've lost a limb. Scientists making new strides in prosthetic limbs and how they interact with the brain.
When you see someone walking with an artificial limb, they don't have full neural control over it. Instead, they're likely using a robotic controller to move the prosthesis at a gait that's been pre-programmed into it. But researchers at MIT are trying a new procedure that, through surgical amputation, reconnects muscles to the body's own nervous system. The result? Patients able to walk faster, avoid obstacles, and do things like climb stairs much more naturally than people with a traditional amputation. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Despite price cuts, Tesla's global sales fell for the second straight quarter. The company says sales from April through June were down 5% from the same period a year ago. Analysts say it's another sign of weakening demand for Tesla products and electric vehicles overall. While sales numbers have declined, Tesla is still the world's top-selling EV maker. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Why is Navage perfect for allergy sufferers? Rhino Systems Medical Director Dr. Howard Levine explains.
If someone's exposed to allergens, they can get rid of those immediately by washing out the nose. Navage works by pulling saline in one nostril, through the nose and out the other nostril, sucking out allergens, mucus, dust, and germs. Experience on-the-spot relief so you could breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier.
Navage is available at Sam's Club, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or online at Navage.com. Navage. Breathe easy.
Sign up your kids for free bowling at Laurel Lanes this summer. Go to laurellanes.com or call 360-457-5858 for more information and take part in their Kids Bowl Free program for kids 18 and under. Laurel Lanes strives to provide a fun and safe environment where everyone is welcome. And they serve fantastic pizza too. Plus, there are family passes available so the entire family can join in the fun. Sign up now and come have a ball at Laurel Lanes, 108 West 8th Street.
Klahani Gymnastics is so much more than mats, bars, and balance beams. It's a place for building strength and confidence in our kids. It's promoting self-esteem and key building blocks for a healthy lifestyle. And of course, fitness is always fun at Klahani. Get the favorite child in your life a gift certificate for tuition and call to check on our schedule for upcoming classes. 360-457-5187. Klahani Gymnastics on Acorn Lane in Port Angeles, making fitness fun since 2009.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results, 457-6600. This week, Clallam County starts a new farm use ordinance. Supporters say it's the first ever agricultural accessory use ordinance and aims to support farming and preserve rural character. It simplifies and reduces costs and supports activities like on-site retail stands and greenhouses and farmers markets. Previously, many of those accessory uses required an expensive conditional use permit. Now farmers can engage in many of the activities outright or with just a $150 certificate of compliance, depending on the size of their farm.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. Daytime highs approaching 64 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 50. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 67. Clear skies and dry Thursday and Friday. Low 70s Thursday, upper 70s by Friday. Looking at the long range, 80 Saturday, 80 Sunday, and 74 on Monday. Once again, a high of 64 today. Lows level off around 50 tonight. A high of 67 tomorrow. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently 64.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
Welcome back to the program. Sad day for baseball yesterday as probably the greatest baseball player of all time, Willie Mays, passed away at the age of 93.
What would you tell the young, what's the main fault that the kids go into
for any
Well, the main thing I found about most youngsters now is that they try to copy the Al. I think they shouldn't do it. I think they should get a bat that suitable for them. I mean by that is maybe a 95-pound kid will try to use my bat when it weighs maybe 34 ounces. So, but I think he should get a bat that he can use and swing for himself rather than my bat alone.
Also related to baseball, someone we lost a number of years ago was Hank Aaron. But it also is a significant year this year, marking the home run record set by Hammerin' Hank. Dan Schlossberg, who is out with a new book, Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron. Believe it or not, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Hammerin' Hank's home run record, and what a fitting time to be talking about a very fascinating figure in Major League Baseball. We should point out, Dan Schlossberg, who's the author of this, is a lifelong Braves fan, so I would assume that writing a book about Hank Aaron fits right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it sure does. I've been a Hank Aaron fan since 1957. That's a long time ago.
Wow. What, this book is a lot more than just about the record and things. This really touches and dives into, Hank Aaron, the human being, the man, everything about him. And really a remarkable figure.
Well, that's why the title is a play on words. Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron. The word remarkable refers to both his ability as an athlete and as a humanitarian and advocate for civil rights, who really picked up Jackie Robinson's torch and ran with it.
Were people surprised in some ways following his run at the home run record?
I think so, because nobody suspected anybody was going to ever break that record. In fact, at one time, Eddie Matthews was regarded as the leading candidate to do that. At other times, Harmon Killebrew, even Willie Mays. But Aaron kind of sneaked up on it. I mean, he never hit more than 47 home runs in a season, whereas somebody named Bonds hit 73 in a season. But that's the only year he hit over 50.
And very true. I mean, everything was just consistent with Hank Aaron. His entire career was just very workmanlike, I guess you might say.
Well, the only major injury he had came as a rookie in 1954. He broke his leg sliding in September. That was the only time he really had a serious injury. And if you're not injured, you can play and do well if you're talented.
That's amazing, too. Okay, so take us through some of his personal life, because I think a lot of folks who aren't really into the baseball history, they don't know a thing about Hank Aaron except for the home run stuff.
Well, Hank Aaron grew up in Mobile, Alabama, when it was segregated. He was born in 1934, and at one point he had to hide under his bed because the KKK was marching down the street in front of his house in full regalia, and his mother was afraid of some violence that might happen. So that was his background. Mm-hmm. And then when he left to join the Indianapolis Clowns, a barnstorming team in the Negro Leagues, he had $2, a cardboard suitcase, and he was wearing his sister's hand-me-down clothes. So to go from that to a millionaire, multimillionaire, after retirement came a long, long way. But he also integrated the Sally League, which was an all-white league that the Braves sent him to. He was sent down with Felix Millan and another black player. It was an all-white league. And he said every single city in the league was bad for him. Mm-hmm. And then later on, when he was going for Babe Ruth's record, all kinds of white bigots came out that didn't want him to break the record. And his life was threatened. His family was threatened. He had to live on the road separately from the team. He had to eat alone. All kinds of things happened. So it was like repeating the original history.
Yeah, amazing. But he persevered. He also had terrible personal tragedy in his life. And beyond that, I mean, that's bad enough, but he had a death of a child, he had a divorce. Yeah. There's all sorts of things that happened. I mean,
that's true. One of his children died in childbirth, really. And then he got divorced from his original wife, Barbara. She did not want to make the move from Milwaukee to Atlanta. And neither did Henry, actually, because he was well aware of the history of what was going on in Georgia. And he knew about Lester Maddox. We're not talking Greg Maddox here. This was Lester Maddox, the axe-wielding governor, and others down there. And he didn't want to make the move. But after he did, he was very happy he did, because he found that Atlanta was a liberal bastion and a conservative state. Plus, the city, the altitude of the city, it's now third in the major leagues. At that point, it was second or first in the major leagues, and that helped the ball fly. And that's why he had so many home runs in Atlanta Stadium. And he became a pull hitter. He changed his approach and hit 40, 44 home runs every year.
What was Hank Aaron always a power hitter, though? I mean, I think you see that when you see him physically, his stature, he never looks like the big killers, as they say, of the days today. I mean, he doesn't look like a power hitter would be out there.
Right. He was no Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton. He was 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, but he was consistent. He was in very good shape. He ate very carefully. In fact, that was one of his arguments with his brother Tommy. He said Tommy didn't eat carefully and put on too much weight to be a really good ball player. But Hank was very careful about what he ate. In fact, he told Dusty Baker and Ralph Garr, who were young players coming into the Braves when Hank was leaving, he taught them how to train, how to eat, how to behave. And he really did a great job.
He became, really a face of the Atlanta Braves, too, though, which is, I think, unique considering the times.
Very much so. I mean, here's a black player going into the Deep South and becoming the biggest star. And when Vin Scully did the play-by-play of Aaron's 7/15 on April 8, 1974, he said that. He said, a black man in the Deep South. Those are part of his words when he was doing the description of the home run.
It's amazing, and I think we keep seeing that that the record-setting home run, the breaker, so much, and it just seems just such a different time. I mean, even with the way the television looked, the coverage, the way baseball just appeared on the screen, it was so different then.
Oh, it really was. In fact, my first experience with baseball really was watching the 1957 World Series on the old Zenith black and white TV in the living room. We only got 3 channels. I lived in the New York area. We only got 3 channels that were, the 3 networks really with the major channels. My father would turn down the sound and tell me what was going on. And Hank Aaron won all 3 Triple Crown categories between the Braves and the Yankees in the 57 series. And I fell in love with him and the Braves.
But he never won a Triple Crown. That's the interesting part, too, right?
He never did, but he led in each of the 3 Triple Crown categories at least twice, which you cannot say for Willie Mays, who never won an RBI crown.
So there you go. So you can make the argument, I think, that Hank Aaron probably was the best baseball player ever.
You could argue that, except that Babe Ruth pitched, and I think that tips the scales in Babe Ruth's favor.
Yeah.
But he's certainly in the top 5, and certainly way above Willie Mickey or the Duke.
It's amazing. This has been fun. As we mentioned at the top of the segment, 50 years. I mean, it's really hard to believe that that's there. And you know what's still standing? Do you think there's going to be another Hank Aaron coming around at any point? You alluded to this. We've had home run hitters, but they're streaky. They have a few great years, and then they kind of disappear.
That happens. I think Joe Charbonneau won the Rookie of the Year and then was off the map the next year. But it happens. I once wrote an article about Dusty Baker. In fact, it was the first magazine article ever written about him, and it was called "Dusty Baker, the Next Hank Aaron?" ? And today, Dusty and I laugh about that article because we know there is no next Hank Aaron.
Now, your book dives into some after baseball, too, with Hank Aaron. So talk a bit about kind of what became of him after he retired.
Well, among other things, he campaigned with 4 Democratic presidents who credited his campaigning for them with their winning the White House. We're talking Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden all said that Hank Aaron's campaigning for them put them in the White House. Because Hank went around, not just in Georgia, but he went to swing states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and campaigned for those guys. And Hank, I think, was reacting a little bit to Jackie Robinson, who was a Richard Nixon Republican. And Hank couldn't understand that at all, especially for a black man.
Very interesting. Even it out a bit. What do you think Hank Aaron would want to have been remembered as? As you've gone through this, you compile this history of him. If you had to put words in his mouth now, what would he want his legacy really to be?
I think he'd like to be remembered as a gentleman, because he told all of his children, "I'm not a celebrity. I'm just another guy working for a living, and I want you to treat me that way, and other people should treat me that way as well." He was just very humble, very introverted, very modest. Don Drysdale once said he looked like he was falling asleep between pitches. Obviously not, since he hit 17 home runs against Don Drysdale, more than any other pitcher, and batted .362 against Sadie Koufax, by the way. But I think Hank would like to be remembered as a great ball player and a great gentleman.
All right. Those who read your book about him, what do you hope that they take away from this?
I hope they remember that there's a lot outside of baseball to know about Hank Aaron. And the last couple of chapters of my book are about that. There's an interview with his widow, Billy Aaron. There's talk about his ski trip to Europe with the Carter family. And the wives went along too. And Hank and Jimmy Carter couldn't ski. They laughed at each other falling down on the slopes. Can you imagine if that happened in the U.S.? Hank Aaron falling down on U.S. ski slopes?
No.
Just remember, there's a lot more to Hank Aaron than just a ball player.
And a terrific ball player is that, and we won't see another one like that as well. Dan, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. Dan Schlossberg's new book out, which is all about Hammerin' Hank, Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron as we celebrate 50 years since the 715 mark was hit in Major League Baseball. Dan, it's great to talk to you.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
When every second counts, trust the trauma experts at Olympic Medical Center. Accidents happen anytime, day or night. That's why Olympic Medical Center provides 24/7 trauma care every day of the year. Our dedicated trauma team is here around the clock to handle your emergencies with expertise and compassion. Olympic Medical Center, your hometown partner in trauma care. Learn more at olympicmedical.org/trauma care.
Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales has a deal for you. Now for a very limited time, when you buy any Snake River, Big Ten cargo, or C&B trailer at Leeds, they will pay the sales tax. That means the price you see is the price you pay. This is huge. Need a mower? Leeds will pay the sales tax on all Gravely mowers in stock too. Break free from sales tax. Get into Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales today.
Summertime is here, and that means great weather and more events. One of the biggest and best events is the annual Unity of Effort. Mark your calendars for Saturday, August 10th. The premier first responder recognition event on the peninsula is back. Hosted by Security Services Northwest. Highlights this year include tours of first responder equipment and helicopters, live musical performances, and several kids' activities. Personnel and equipment from local, state, and federal law enforcement, fire districts, military, and other emergency response agencies will be on hand to talk with you, giving you a much better idea and appreciation for what our first responders do. You'll also experience helicopter displays from the U.S. Army, Navy, and Airlift Northwest. There'll be food vendors too. Contact Security Services Northwest if you're interested in having a booth at Unity of Effort on Saturday, August 10th.
All right, rest of the program today. My pleasure to have Port Angeles Police Chief Brian Smith joining us. It's been a while since we've had Brian in to get an update on what's going on with the Port Angeles Police Department. And he actually just recently, his department out with its annual report for last year, and we'll probably touch on quite a bit of what's in that as well. So, Brian, first, good to see you again. Thanks for
Todd,
coming
good
down
to see you.
and showing, talking with our audience just a bit. I guess overall, as you look back on the last year and some stats and some things, what's your impression as to the status of things law enforcement wise for Port Angeles?
Well, there was a lot of good things to talk about from last year. Some things that, statewide, trends that helped us, other things that maybe aren't as helpful. But, in 2023, we were able to maintain full staffing in our operations side, and we were able to improve our recruiting and retention in PENCOM, which is the 911 center, which is a great accomplishment. And like every year, the amazing work of the women and men at PAPD, there are always great stories to talk about, successful cases, accomplishments, things that we've managed to problem solve. And really, you could talk about them all day, but last year was a great year, and some of the things that have happened this year, like the change in the pursuit law, which, like, we had an event the other night that sort of pointed out when we're allowed to do our jobs that we can be even more successful. Our number one focus is always our people, and our most valuable resource that we have is the people that work at PAPD. You know, finding them, keeping them, taking care of them. I almost think that's all I think about, because they don't have to work for us. They can go elsewhere. They can do other things. They can retire. And that's in the last, I would say 2021 through 23, that was made harder and harder. It's, I'd say, a little bit easier now. We've got some breathing room, and our younger officers are coming to us with some great skills, some great attitudes, life experiences, and I'm very optimistic about the future.
Last time we talked just about that, there was some attrition things that were happening. Part of it was that, like many places, police forces were getting older. I mean, you had people that were just literally at retirement age, but trying to, backfill that was always difficult. It sounds like this is getting a little bit easier now to at least get the holes filled.
It's still, like, backfilling somebody takes up to a year and a half in time, maybe 2 years sometimes, depending. And we recently had one retirement and one person who lateraled to another agency. We were able to hire the replacements earlier by being more diligent in our recruiting efforts, but we still will have to wait for them to graduate from the academy. We won't see either one of them out on their own until next spring, early next summer.
Yeah, so it's a year investment almost before you can get somebody out on the field from the time you actually get them in. Yeah.
So, I mean, when we say the most valuable resource, we mean that in all the ways you can think of. You can't run a company if there's nobody there to turn the lights on. And for us, we invest heavily in our people, and we work hard to get them, but it takes a long time.
You mentioned you're fully staffed now at this point. Last time we chatted, we talked a little bit about what that really means in a perfect world.
We finished 2023 fully staffed in the operations side. That meant in records, in detectives, in patrol. We were, administration 100% staffed. Today, right now we have one retirement from code enforcement, and we're working hard to replace that position. We've had 2 people transfer out of records. Those positions we're in the hiring process for. We've got 2 officers who were trainees, and we have 1 officer that's a trainee officer in the academy that we hired last year, and we have 1 officer that's on light duty. So we have 4 officers that we can't deploy right now out of 34, and we have out of 5 record specialists, we have 2 vacancies, and we're in the hiring process. So those are challenges right there.
Right. Yeah.
And on PENCOM, we've managed to add 1 more person from the end of last year who's a trainee, but we still have a half dozen vacancies. And we managed to add a GIS specialist position and a systems coordinator position. Successfully get those people. Those are the back end that support PENCOM.
Right.
So we're making progress, but you're always like one decision away of somebody leaving or getting something better in their life, and nothing's static, and the external world doesn't always cut us breaks. Like what happened legislatively in 21 and 22 didn't do us any favors, and we literally had to dig out from that. Right. Emotionally, psychologically, and operationally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, we talked about that too. That there were a lot of people that may have been thinking about a law enforcement career, all of a sudden said, or re-upping in their career, and said, "I'm done," just because of attitude or culture, if you will, that they felt. Yeah.
I mean, the work itself can be very rewarding, very exciting, and when we talk about like cases and events from last year, there's some great stories in there. Like some of the things that we're hoping to launch this year, like we've replaced our drones. So we have an indoor drone and an outdoor drone, very high-tech pieces of equipment that required trained personnel. It's eyes and ears, and it's a tool that we now have a better version of it. We've also been grant funded to add some license plate reader devices that will give us sort of real-time information when somebody who's a fugitive or in a stolen car decides to drive into our area, and that'll be tied to a bunch of other area cameras is what they're referred to. So that'll make us more efficient and give us the ability to like be more places at once.
Before I hit the break, I got to ask you, an indoor drone, where would you use that around here?
Well, think about doing a building search at a place like a large auditorium or, any one of our facilities here where, it's a dangerous environment, whether you're doing a search warrant, arrest warrant, or whatever. Well, like we can send K9 in there, but we can also now send K9 in there and an indoor drone that'll tell you what's in front of you before you have to go approach it. So
exactly. All right.
Yeah, and they're specifically designed for indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Next time we'll fly it in here.
I was going to say we'll put it up on our camera maybe for folks to see. All right, Brian Smith, we're going to take a break. He's the police chief for Port Angeles. We'll come back. We're going to talk a bit about some of the stats that they responded on. There were some very interesting cases too in this past year that PAPD's been involved with, and we'll chat all about that when we come back right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
The tagline, Swain's has everything, couldn't be more true. Just ask anyone. From gardening supplies to shoes and apparel, from kitchen gadgets to toys, from paint to sports gear. Oh yeah, and world-famous popcorn, just to name a few. Right now, their tag should be Swain's has everything on sale. The 4th of July sale is exploding with deals you won't walk away from. Stop by and see for yourself because you only have until July 9th. Swain's General Store. They really do have everything.
Easy Pawn in downtown Port Angeles is filling up with merchandise for its new front-end gift shop. There's even a new adult humor section in the upper mezzanine that will have you giggling from one end of the room to the other. Stop in for fun gifts you can't get anywhere else in town. We've also ramped up the archery department at Easy Pawn East and always have a great selection of new and used firearms with the option to custom order. We look forward to your visit.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. A Seattle area plastic surgeon who was accused of threatening patients over negative reviews now has to pay $5 million. Dr. Havad Sajan must pay the money to the state attorney general's office, as well as thousands of Washington state residents. The decree is in response to a lawsuit that was filed by Attorney General Bob Ferguson in late 2022. It claimed the company threatened its patients into removing negative reviews and ordered employees to post fake ones. The 4th of July is approaching. Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest reminding visitors fireworks are never allowed in the forest. Spokesperson Robin DeMario said there are some areas near the forest that may allow fireworks, such as the wildland-urban interface.
That's where the forest sort of meets private lands where people have homes and such. So we just encourage people to make sure they know whether they can or cannot have fireworks where they live.
And a 50-year-old Messianic rabbi from Dryden could spend years in prison after being convicted by a jury of assault against his former partner. Isaac David Heckman was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree assault, one for substantial bodily harm, the other for strangulation. The jury could not agree on a third charge of assault with a deadly weapon. Heckman is the rabbi pastor for the Assembly of Called Out Believers, a Wenatchee-based ministry that combines Judaism and Christianity. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app. You can also visit our website, WashingtonStateNews.net.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I taught for 20 years, until I started forgetting my lectures.
Eventually, he had to quit. Getting his early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard, but it gave us time to take control of the situation, together.
I can't imagine going through this without him.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. Daytime highs approaching 64 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 50. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 67. Clear skies and dry Thursday and Friday. Low 70s Thursday, upper 70s by Friday. Looking at the long range, 80 Saturday, 80 Sunday, and 74 on Monday. Once again, a high of 64 today. Lows level off around 50 tonight. A high of 67 tomorrow. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently 64.
Brian Smith, he's the chief of police for Port Angeles. My guest in this segment, Brian, I thought we'd talk a little bit about kind of how things have looked response-wise, case level-wise, things in the last year. I was just looking briefly through your chart here.
Sure.
And it appears that maybe, I don't want to say trended down, or at least flattened out might be as far as caseload goes. But I don't know, am I misinterpreting that or not?
Well, in some of the case areas, that's true. And those numbers often reflect things that could be upstream, like, you successfully arrested someone and stopped their crime spree. Like our detective division last year took in 131 cases, or worked 131 cases. Well, those are violent crimes. Mm-hmm. Those are people that hurt other people. Every one of those cases that's successful will often eliminate that criminal activity from occurring, because it's occurring from that person. If they're incarcerated. The larger number of calls, like we made about 70 more arrests in 2023 than we did in 21, but we made less than in 22, but they're still, by my perspective, low, like 500 to 600 arrests, physical arrests, in a city of 20,000, in my view, is actually pretty low. It's nothing against the officers. Mm-hmm. It's just like there's a lot more going on out there that we're not able to address. The number of the juvenile arrests that went from 35 and 21 to 99 and 22, there's a lot of dynamics there that we don't control, like the post-COVID kids. Our school resource officer is as busy as they've ever been. And, for us, when the law changed, we can't interview a juvenile, somebody under 18, really at all. And so, whereas before we might have been able to get something exculpatory that would maybe indicate not to make an arrest, in a serious matter now, if we have probable cause,
you got to make an arrest. Yeah.
In terms of the other numbers, like our 911 center handled 128,000 calls to them. That's a normal number. I mean, that's 120,000 is the number I use. 43,000 of those were 911 calls, but the other calls were non-emergent calls for service, things that required a trained 911 center, people that have skills that are specific. One of the things I wanted to point out about PENCOM is that we were able, through really the work of Director Carl Hatton and his team, they've worked on getting 97% was the number last year of the 911 calls answered within 10 seconds. So there's a lot that goes into a 911 call, getting it answered, getting it dispatched to the right agency, to the right place with the right resources. And that plus working towards getting CPR started sooner. That's essentially like doing a mini CPR class over the phone with a family member often. And those things have led to much better outcomes in the field. But those are hard efforts when we have a staffing challenge. Our director and our admin supervisor both work time, we call it on the console. They'd be like Jason Vieta and I doing patrol shifts out, like taking part of our job and being out running calls. But both Carl and Susan do that because that's allows people to take time off, and it allows us to do all the other things we have to do. But that's a lot of wear and tear on what are management positions, and they have to still do all the other
all
things
the management stuff that goes on. Yeah, right.
But that goes in the category of those are things that you actually have to do. Like you just have to do those things, or you won't be successful. The other thing about statistics, like like I want to talk about use of force quickly, and our use of force numbers really haven't changed. We use force less than 0.5% of our overall context. So I think last year we were about 23,000 calls for service. We used force in less than 0.5% of those.
Wow.
And like we deployed the taser 8 times. We used what we call level techniques, 51 times. There's a really low level use of force. It's not unique to us. That's some, our jobs are behavior based. So we deal with behavior. We don't create the behavior. So we're able, in some sense, with good tactics and good training and, teaming up and slowing down to control and manage certain behavior and guide it towards being compliant and cooperative. But that does have its limits. We still have to use force sometimes, but we use it much less than people think we do. And that isn't new. That 0.5%'s been, ever since I've been here, that's been about our percentage in terms of when we use force. Again, the goal is not to have to use it at all. Part of that is, a sense of voluntary compliance, which the legislative efforts of 21 and 22, which I've been outspoken about, took us in another direction of really non-compliance and encouraging it and making it harder for us to get people to do it. However, here in Clallam County, Port Angeles, we've mostly gotten through that successfully.
Question about drug possession, since things have now changed back somewhat. How has that affected your officers in trying to administer? I'll just say administer contact in those cases.
It's changed it a little bit, and if I think about the legislation, it was motivated partly behind everyone agreeing that public use of dangerous drugs was not helpful. Like there was a strong consensus in the legislature on that. And there's not disagreement on our part that substance use is a disorder. However, when it had no sanctions attached to it, and if we have very strong programs, which we do here, to get people into treatment and services, we had very little leverage to do that. And our outreach programs, I think, they had a harder time during the period of time when it was really clear that we really weren't able to do anything.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to say yes to services and you were struggling, we were essentially leaving you out there. Prior to 2021, we could make a physical arrest, and that interruption, that trip to jail, could start you on the process where the jail has medical. We have substance use disorder people that work out of the jail. We have people that can follow up. We have all these really solid programs. Well, if we can't get you into the system, and we're going to let you sort of struggle with your own situation yourself, that was not a direction that really was helpful anyway. What the law did is it sort of gave us a little bit of leverage. And how many cases we've made? Not that many, but I think people know now that it is actually a crime to possess, and if we see it, we can do something about it. Or if we, which is more common, if we catch you with dangerous drugs incidental to something else, we're gonna refer and charge it.
Right.
It's gonna get charged. That's really on the margins though, because I don't if you ask people, you've created the situation. You've got widespread use among some people of really, really dangerous substances that are unregulated, and that's not going to change overnight. And us and then the state to the south of us both in different ways experimented with that, and I think we'll be dealing with that till further notice. People that are heavily damaged, their lives are going to be hard for them to get back, and we're going to do everything we can to help them, but when we took away any sanctions, we didn't send them in the right direction. The law change, it tilted it in the right direction, though it's still, in my opinion, not where we were before, which was much more helpful. And I think the officers would say it's helped them a little bit, to answer to your question.
On the other side of that, vagrancy issues, homelessness issues, some things like that, because I know that's something that you deal with a lot on the street. How has that changed? And I guess maybe your opinion, this Supreme Court ruling that has come out that may change things a little bit as to how you can interact with people who are simply just they're out on the street, essentially.
So what the Supreme Court did is essentially allowed municipalities and, cities and counties, if they want to regulate, like, camping on their own property, like controlling their property. It allows, and I guess right-of-ways as well, but it allows us to enforce things that are already rules. The county and the city already have rules about how you'll use our property. So we have hours in city parks. We have a requirement if you want to camp in a city park, you'd have to have a permit from the parks director. That's in our ordinance. We have a rule that says you can't store property on city property. But with the headwinds that were created by the Boise case, we were not able, in many cases, to successfully prosecute someone for a misdemeanor when, in fact, we trespassed them out of a city park for violating a city rule. And typically, there's multiple contacts. There was a lot of request on the part of the officers for cooperation and compliance. Eventually, the person got trespassed. So now they're trespassed. They can't be there. And so they return and violate the trespass and then eventually get arrested for that. We were having trouble getting the trespass charged because the original reason for it was the camping and violation of city ordinances. Yeah. So I'm hopeful that because the court has made it really clear that cities and counties can control their property just like anybody else, that if that's the reason for the trespass, it's the reason. We have a number of ways that we can get people into services, and we have a lot of folks who are out there every day offering help, but we don't offer, like Jesse Webster Park over here is not a campground. Right. It's not structured to be one. It doesn't have bathrooms. It is not a camping facility. I believe what the court said is the city has every right to tell people you can't camp there. And in Clallam County, our Serenity House shelter will not turn you away. They have beds available. Now, if you've engaged in behavior that's caused you to be trespassed from there, it's a different story. So not everybody can go there. If you've possessed drugs, been violent, whatever, it's their facility. But the court never said that you had to have a shelter for anybody and everybody, regardless of what they did. And I think the original idea, I think I understand the original decision, but we never had those circumstances here to begin with. However, like I'm told, the national park next door, law enforcement, which, that's my background, got told by their prosecutor that they couldn't enforce rules on camping in a national park because of that earlier case law. Like that would mean essentially that a national park on some level couldn't be a national park if you can literally camp without a permit, camp outside a campground. It's no longer a national park. I think the court has resolved that, and every place will choose to approach it maybe a little bit differently. We're well equipped to just essentially, we enforce things, pretty gently, but we do enforce them. And I think hopefully this will help us get a little bit more compliance, a little bit more cooperation. When I came to work yesterday morning, there were 5 motorhomes parked around Jesse Webster Park. It's not an RV campground. All that's in violation of city ordinance. The people that live there have every right to tell me and my team, please deal with that. Please address that.
The flip side to that, just about RVs, motorhomes, kind of the junk vehicle part of things, if you want to call it that, is, have you been able to resolve this so you can get a place to take these to? Because that's always been one of the issues.
So the answer is yes.
On an impound.
However, you would really want to get Chris Ritchie and his team from Evergreen to talk to you what their experience is. The facility, the answer is yes. We've been able to get the place that we jointly cooperated with Clallam County and SQUIM, and we assisted Evergreen in expanding their facility. They've added spaces. We can now get vehicles there. I believe that there's a part of them getting reimbursed for that that's still being worked on. That I don't want to speak for them, but I think that that's still a challenge. Like the statewide program that gets them reimbursed still hasn't fully been developed. Until that's done, we can't ask a private company to shoulder costs and burdens that aren't really theirs to shoulder.
But in the bigger picture, this is helpful, I think, for you in kind of attacking this problem, because I know that's been a real issue over the years as well. Let's take a break. I'm going to come back and we'll wrap things up with Brian Smith. He's the chief of police for Port Angeles, talking a little bit about the year that has been and kind of where things are at right now, policy-wise, and some other things. We'll continue right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
Sometimes the more things change, the more things stay the same. Cars and trucks certainly have changed, but it's really good to know that A1 Auto Parts in Sequim has the same great service and expert advice as always. Whether it's advanced technology of the newest model or a classic with hard-to-find parts, the A1 team is your go-to for expert advice and tracking the right equipment. A1 Auto Parts and Marine across from Sunshine Cafe in downtown Sequim.
Sign up your kids for free bowling at Laurel Lanes this summer. Go to laurellanes.com or call 360-457-5858 for more information and take part in their Kids Bowl Free program for kids 18 and under. Laurel Lanes strives to provide a fun and safe environment where everyone is welcome. And they serve fantastic pizza too. Plus, there are family passes available so the entire family can join in the fun. Sign up now and come have a ball at Laurel Lanes, 108 West 8th Street.
Did you know that hot water accounts for 15 to 20% of your electric energy use? Hi, this is Clallam PUD. Let's talk about heat pump water heaters, or hybrid water heaters. A heat pump water heater uses fans and an evaporator to efficiently extract warmth from the surrounding air, saving you up to 60% on your electric water heating costs. The PUD currently has an instant rebate of up to $900 when using a participating installer, or $600 if you're installing it on your own. Plus, the federal government is offering a $2,000 tax credit. Visit clallampud.net for more information.
Neighbors, the next generation, our community.
The chance to rebuild and thrive belongs to everyone.
United Way of Clallam County is committed to improving the health, education, and financial stability of every person in our community.
With our partners, donors, and advocates, we've reached more people to make a bigger difference in Clallam County.
Give for a brighter future. Advocate for a better tomorrow. Volunteer to make a positive change. That's what it means to live united.
Join us in making an impact in our community by donating at www.unitedwayclallam.org/donate.
Last few minutes here as we wrap things up with the Chief of Police for Port Angeles. That's Brian Smith, my guest this afternoon. Want to touch on a couple of things in this past year, some highlights, if you will, through his office. One, the Downtown Resource Officer, Zach Moore, who's been on the job now for, I guess, now a full year plus, right?
Year plus.
Roughly,
yes.
Yeah. How has that been working out? I know that it, from what I hear, it's been a pretty good thing downtown.
Well, we got asked questions when we were working towards getting that job funding, like what could one officer do? Like what kind of difference is one officer going to make? And I think Officer Moore has shown that like one officer can make a huge difference when they concentrate their efforts. So his statistics, like May to December of last year, so that's last year, the first a little over 6 months, he handled 673 calls. 469 of those were downtown. But if you talk to people down there, the impact is a lot more than those calls. And Officer Moore was, given the freedom to kind of organize his work and time towards what he thought be most productive. He managed to address like downtown parking. I didn't think he'd be able to do that, but he did it, and he still addresses parking violations in a way that we are otherwise unable to. He spent a lot of time on foot, a lot of time talking to people, a lot of time proactively dealing with situations before they were going to be problems. And sort of as a recognition of that, we renamed his station the Waterfront Foot Patrol Station, because really when you see his patrol car there at the station, he's probably not in the station. He's out on foot somewhere, talking to somebody, addressing a problem. And I think the feel of downtown is different, and the amount of cooperation we get all the way around. I'll give you one example. We had problems, and we still have them to some extent, with certain numbers of school-age persons at the transit center and at the city pier. And between our school resource officer and our downtown resource officer, they were able to concentrate their efforts and address some of those things, and have that not be what you see when you go down there.
Yeah.
So,
and I always liken it to, and I've talked with Officer Moore, had him on the show a couple of times,
Right,
and the
right.
fact that you know what, he's the old beat cop in a
Right.
lot of ways down there.
It
It's
really
the
is.
gumshoe
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
right? That and
Yep.
it works. Sometimes
Yep.
old school is the right school.
Absolutely.
Your outreach programs, you've alluded to it a little bit. How has that been going?
We have a very robust, legislature funded program. Our contractor is Olympic Peninsula Community Clinic. The program is named Rediscovery. It's got a couple of different assets to it. It's got a fairly large staff. I mean, we started off with one social worker riding with us. So last year, just one statistic that I think is very interesting is that they transported 86 people to long-term inpatient treatment for substance use disorder.
Oh.
So that doesn't mean that they just drove up to somebody and picked them
said,
up off the
"Here's
street,
what
said,
you
"Hey,
oughta
wanna
do,"
ride?"
yeah.
That's like tremendous work, getting someone into long-term inpatient treatment for substance use disorder, having the transportation vehicle, having the trained personnel, being ready when somebody was ready. That's a big success if you think about what it takes for people to overcome that. Having that capability has managed to change situations for those 86 people, but also everybody else that's impacted by them. And that took a lot of work to get there. There would have been a time when, 7 or 8 years ago, when I said we transported nobody. Like, we took people to the ER, and that was it. Like, we didn't do any of that. We didn't have the ability to do it, and folks found those services however they found them. So that is part of, addressing things from a holistic standpoint.
And real quickly, I mean, the effectiveness of that is the pairing of a social worker
Right.
and a cop, basically.
Well, and it's actually now with the community paramedic, firefighters,
yeah, right,
and the police officer, and then the social workers, and the outreach. And there's different
you've got levels of it, right?
Right, and the PA Fire is now organized an overdose response team that sort of stays behind when we have a drug overdose that we're called to, and takes advantage of the opportunities right after the event when someone's been resuscitated to get them either on medically assisted treatment or into services or all the above. And that's again not an easy undertaking, but that's something that we're able to carry out sort of in a team approach.
All right, one last note here in a minute or so. Let's talk about your Officer of the Year. A name a lot of folks may know.
Oh yeah, so the Officer of the Year, which somebody that makes me very, very proud, Officer Whitney Fairbanks. Her work and statistics, they kind of speak for themselves. Besides being a canine handler, master handler, like last year she handled 1,386 calls for service. So we had 23,000. So out of the 23,000, she was on 1,386 of them, wrote 194 case reports, made 28 arrests, and wrote 16 tickets. Well, the reason she only wrote that many tickets is actually hard to write tickets.
Yeah.
And infraction tickets, in terms of the amount of time and space that you have to write them, I would bet a lot of those were for crashes and traffic accidents. But as a tremendous workload from somebody that's also a relief supervisor, also a master, canine handler, has a whole nother program to keep track of, and has a great sort of attitude and enthusiasm for her work, and I think inspires many of our newer, younger officers to be just like Whitney.
Yeah, congratulations to her.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Congratulations to you because she stuck around with your department,
Well,
and
yeah,
I think you guys are really much better for it.
So we hired her, I think, the week after she graduated from college in 2015.
Okay.
That's how we like to make it work. When it works is you get your diploma one week, and the next week you're working for us.
You got it.
So, yeah.
All right, Brian, it's great to talk to you.
Well, thanks, Todd.
Thanks
really
for coming
appreciate
down.
it.
Brian Smith, he's the chief of police for Port Angeles. A little bit about what's going on with his department. We'll take a break and check in with the news coming up next.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Summertime is here, and that means great weather and more events. One of the biggest and best events is the annual Unity of Effort. Mark your calendars for Saturday, August 10th. The premier first responder recognition event on the peninsula is back. Hosted by Security Services Northwest. Highlights this year include tours of first responder equipment and helicopters, live musical performances, and several kids' activities. Personnel and equipment from local, state, and federal law enforcement, fire districts, military, and other emergency response agencies will be on hand to talk with you, giving you a much better idea and appreciation for what our first responders do. You'll also experience helicopter displays from the U.S. Army, Navy, and Airlift Northwest. There'll be food vendors too. Contact Security Services Northwest if you're interested in having a booth at Unity of Effort on Saturday, August 10th.
At Olympic Peninsula Title, we wear a lot of different hats. We're investigators, analysts, and the protectors of property rights. We seek a high standard of accuracy. Our commitment to exceptional service strengthens our mission. We reduce risk. We stay on top of the current issues affecting property rights. We sweat the small stuff to give our customers the peace of mind they deserve. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title. Locally owned and family run since 1981.
Got an event? Make it special with live classic hits from Black Diamond Junction. The band voted best on the peninsula the past 7 years in a row.
We hired BDJ for our anniversary party. Their classic hits were so good and kept all generations of our guests dancing.
What a great band and the best entertainers. We had them for an event and won't hesitate to bring them back again. No question.
BDJ made our annual family and friends party the best ever. So professional and great to work with.
Get more info at blackdiamondjunction.com or Black Diamond Junction on Facebook and Instagram.
The North Peninsula's news. The North Peninsula's talk. News Radio KONP, Port Angeles Squim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Nearly a week after a disappointing debate performance, President Biden's campaign facing a huge hurdle. A growing number of Democrats are questioning his health and ability to win re-election. Today, allies weighed in, including Congressman Jim Clyburn, who says he wants the Biden-Harris ticket to remain, but would support Vice President Kamala Harris to take over if the president bowed out. And the first sitting congressional Democrat is calling on the president to step aside.
Texas Congressman Lloyd Doggett has become the first congressional Democrat to call for President Biden to step aside, get out of the presidential race. In a statement, he said of last week's presidential debate, quote, instead of reassuring voters, the president failed to effectively defend many of his accomplishments and expose Trump's many lies, end quote. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
Still no progress in a ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas. Israeli forces ordering a mass evacuation in southern Gaza. Some 250,000 Palestinians, the UN says, now relocating to humanitarian zones due to a rocket attack in the area. ABC's Matt Gutman is in Tel Aviv.
Israel has been talking about phasing down this war, moving toward what they're calling Phase C, in which they would be mostly on the outside of the Gaza Strip, launching in for targeted raids against high-value targets and to try to put out what they're calling Hamas hotspots. But at the same time, there is some significant fighting going on and certainly a pretty significant dislocation of people who have already been through quite a lot at this point.
New hope for Alzheimer's patients. The FDA has approved Eli Lilly's drug that helps slow the progression in the early stages of the disease. It's the second Alzheimer's treatment drug to be approved in the U.S. Hurricane Beryl blamed for at least 6 deaths in the Lesser Antilles near Venezuela and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The strong Category 4 hurricane still packing 155-mile-per-hour winds. You're listening to ABC News.
Cue the fireworks and celebrate Independence Day with the Omaha Steaks 4th of July sale. Save 50% off site-wide and fire up the perfect backyard cookout with tender steaks, juicy burgers, deli-style franks, and more family favorites. Shop today at omahasteaks.com and score an extra $30 off when you use promo code QUALITY at checkout. Plus, every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code QUALITY at checkout.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Dozens of airline passengers injured after terrifying turbulence on a packed Air Europa flight from Spain to Uruguay. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has details.
A passenger apparently stuck in the ceiling of the aircraft, his feet dangling over the aisle. It's still unclear how he got there. Passengers slammed into the ceiling. Paramedics seen carrying one person off the plane on a stretcher.
The plane hit turbulence over the Atlantic and made an emergency landing in Brazil. The man charged with stabbing renowned author Salman Rushdie has rejected a plea deal.
26-year-old Hani Matar has been jailed without bail